Did Abraham really marry his sister? In this video, you'll find out. Reminder, hit the subscribe button below and turn on the notification bell to stay up to date as new videos come out. And if you're interested in supporting this ministry, just go to justscripture.org and click on the support page. The blood relationship between Abraham and Sarah has always puzzled and troubled readers because the idea that Abraham married his sister just doesn't sit well in one's mind. The two instances where this comes up are in Genesis 12 and 20, where Abraham takes the household down to Egypt because a famine has come into the land and fears that he will likely be killed because someone will want to marry Sarah, and the only way that they can do that is if he's out of the way. Now, why this topic is worth covering is because it appears to create a contradiction with the Torah's incest laws, most clearly said in Deuteronomy 27:22 that cursed be he that lies with his sister, the daughter of his father, or the daughter of his mother. And at Leviticus 18:6, where Moses begins the section on many prohibited scenarios, with verse 9 saying, "The nakedness of thy sister, the daughter of thy father, or daughter of thy mother, whether she be born at home or born abroad, even their nakedness you shall not uncover." 18:11 says, "The nakedness of thy father's wife's daughter, begotten of thy father, she is thy sister, thou shalt not uncover her nakedness." This is prohibiting the half-sister scenario. And 20:17 says, "And if a man shall take his sister, his father's daughter, or mother's daughter, and see her nakedness, and she see his nakedness, it is a wicked thing, and they shall be cut off in the sight of their people. He hath uncovered his sister's nakedness, he shall bear his iniquity." Now, all this language is euphemisms for sexual intercourse. So, the local village critic would point this out and say, look, there's a clear contradiction here, so don't try to sell me any of that Bible inerrancy garbage, because on one hand, God was fine with Abraham and Sarah's marriage, but then forbids it later on. And even if you try to say that Abraham was merely lying to protect himself, is that Abimelech tore into Abraham for not revealing to him that Sarah was his wife. But Abraham responded, "And yet indeed she is my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife." So, this leaves the believer sweating bullets and the village critic feeling that he's just blown up the Bible in one fell swoop. Now, from Abraham's own words there, is that this seems to be the family tree that he was describing. And if so, then Leviticus and Deuteronomy really do say that this union was wrong. So, what are the ways that both Jews and Christians have responded to this apparent contradiction? Well, the first is that those rules came over 500 years later. So holding Abraham accountable to them really isn't fair. Okay, but a quick passing point on that is that if that is your type of thinking, is that then you need to be ready to offer a coherent reason why all of the other Genesis stories that involve some degree of judgment for sexual intercourse are somehow wrong. Now, I'm not going to go diving into that, but it's something that maybe you need to be thinking on and whether or not you are being consistent with your own arguments. And the other typical reply is that the word sister in the ancient world had a lot of latitude to it. This is similar to when we addressed Belshazzar being called the son of Nebuchadnezzar in our Daniel 5 study. We saw that neither Aramaic or Hebrew have words for grandson or grandfather. So, if someone is referred to as your father, is that it can simply be implying that you're a descendant of that person. But if they wanted to get specific on it, is that they could double up on the Hebrew word ben to note that he is the grandson of Terah. Other examples of latitude with this can be found with Elijah being called Elisha's father. But 1 Kings 19:16 quite clearly says that Elisha is the son of Shaphat. In the New Testament, Jesus is called the son of David, and the Jews even refer to Abraham as their father. And the Assyrians did the same thing, as Shalmaneser called King Jehu a son of Omri. And you can see that there are 3 kings and 30 years between Omri and Jehu. But the bigger catch is that Jehu wasn't even a descendant of Omri at all. He actually starts the 4th dynasty of the northern kingdom of Israel. So, being called a son of someone had a wide variety of meaning in the ancient world, and the same would then hold true for the word daughter. So, maybe Abraham wasn't lying, but was using the relational terms as loose as he needed in order to protect himself in both episodes. But this then begs the question, is if the sibling terms in the ancient world could mean more than your regular brother or sister. And the answer is yes. There's a biblical example to both brother and sister. But before getting into that, let's see Terah's family tree at the end of Genesis 11 to have a visual cue to work off of. There, it says that Terah fathered 3 sons, along with Haran fathering Lot, Abraham's nephew. Verse 28 has Haran dying, then saying that Abram took Sarai as a wife, and also that Nahor married Milcah, the daughter of his brother Haran, who then would be his niece, along with Abraham's. Interesting that these added relationship descriptors were given for Milcah, and even mentions another sister named Yizkah. Now, because Nahor took his niece as a wife, is that maybe Abram did the same by taking Yizkah, but then she later changed her name to Sarai. The rationale here is that the word Yizkah is only found once in the entire Old Testament, and it would seem pointless to throw her in unless Moses had some underlying reason for penning her in, and also that her name means observant or one who looks forth. Continuing with this train of thought is that because Sarah is referred to as beautiful and her name means princess, is that the Talmud teaches that they are one and the same person, and even adds to say that she was a prophetess. The proposal here can only work is if you don't take Genesis 11:26 statement at 100% face value, meaning that Abram wasn't born first and Terah wasn't 70 years old when he was born. The reason why is because if you take that view, along with Yizkah being Sarah, is that you now have a major chronological issue to overcome, because Genesis 17:17 informs us that Abraham is only 10 years older than Sarah. So that means that Haran, at the very latest, could be 10 years old when he fathered Sarah. So this chronology view undermines the equating of Yizkah with Sarah. But, and there's always a but with chronology, is that if you say that Abram's listing first was because of his prominence within the family, and not because of birth order, as that things become possible again to equate the two. And the case for this can be made by taking 1132's statement about Terah being 205 when he died in Haran, and interpret Acts 7:4's his father as Terah, as Stephen is recounting Abraham's call out of Ur and Haran and into Canaan, which Genesis 12:4 says that Abram was 75 at that point, and that would mean that Terah was 130 when Abraham was born. So that is how you have to argue it in order to keep the possibility of Yiska being Sarah open. But getting back to our main question about is if the word or the Hebrew word for sister could be used for a niece or brother for a nephew, the male example comes in Genesis 14:12, and that says, "And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed." Now you can see that Lot is being described as Abram's nephew. Yet in verse 14 it says, "And when he heard about his brother was being taken captive," and we'll stop right there, because you just saw that Lot was referred to as Abraham's brother now. So it's clear that the Hebrew word could be applied to one's nephew. And on the niece side, is that we don't have to move far down the family tree to get our example with Isaac. The filler here is that at the end of Genesis 22, is that it lists Nahor and Milcah's 8 sons, who one of them was Bethuel, who is the father of Rebekah, Isaac's wife, which means that Isaac married his first cousin once removed. And I bet you now know where we're headed to next. Chapter 26. So Isaac dwelt in Gerar, and the men of the place asked about his wife. And Isaac said, "She is my sister." For he was afraid to say, "She is my wife," because he thought, "Lest the men of the place kill me for Rebekah, because she is beautiful to behold." So Isaac is following in Dad's footsteps on this one, but you can see that he is using the available latitude within the feminine form of the same Hebrew word as with Lot. So, when Abraham said, "She is my sister and the daughter of my father," to save his own skin, was that he was using both terms on the permissible latitude that they could be used in the ancient world with to make Abimelech think she was his actual sister, while in reality her closest relation to Abram was likely as a niece by either being Haran's daughter Yiska, or being the daughter of an unnamed daughter of Terah, or from Nahor from a different wife. Needless to say, Abraham was not in a prohibited incestual relationship with Sarah. Reminder, hit the subscribe button below, turn on the notification bell, hit the like button, and leave a comment. And don't forget to visit us at justscripture.org. But in the meantime, stay salty.